Hey everybody, and welcome back to a fresh edition of This Week in Cleantech, our 15-minute-ish roundup of the biggest stories in climate and clean energy every week. You're listening to this on Friday, March 20th, 2026. We are deep in March Madness. I got basketball games on all around me right now, Mike Casey. We've also got a returning guest in the lobby, Jennifer McDermott. If she hasn't left already, from the Associated Press, will be joining us shortly. I'm Factor This content director, Paul Gerke, joined as always by Cleantech commentator Mike Casey of Tigercomm. Mike, how are you?
I'm good. I was cracking up as usual by Mr. Mendez's pre-rolling antics. My God, he's very good at making us laugh just before he rolls the tape. So anyway, I want to give a listener shout out to Matthew Fabricio from Green Tweed. He said he had to rewind last week's episode a couple of times after we mentioned that LFP electric vehicle batteries had a 9-minute charge.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. If you want to hear about battery charging innovations, you should look out toward China. There's some really wild stuff going on. It seems like every day I click an article and I'm like, yeah, they're living in the future. And we're living in a thing that's going backwards. It feels like a reverse time machine, Mike. But you know what else was weird? I actually had somebody approach me about the show this week. Usually it's you who is our conduit to the outside world. The people come to you. It's your face, it's your personality, just a real endearing guy. But somebody approached me, my cold mug, at an event this week. I was out at the Solar and Wind Investment Summit in Phoenix, and Lee from Kroll was also out at the show. Is Paul? Factor This, I listened to your show. He says he actually gets something out of it. It's in his rotation. He listens every single week. Super cool. Always awesome to see a listener in the wild. We love to hear from you guys. We found out this past week, too, that our email address had some ghosts in the machine, TWIC@Tigercomm with 2Ms.US. That is fixed. We got a Ghostbuster on the case. The ghosts are gone. The email's open again. So if you've got a story you want to hear or a shout out you want to send, email us. It's TWIC, TWIC@Tigercomm with 2Ms.US. Mike, 5 stories on tap as always this week. Let's start with number 1.
Carrie L. Byron from Grist, how Ann Arbor, Michigan is creating its own clean energy utility.
Beautiful little college town, Ann Arbor, if you've never heard of it. Michigan's going to win the NCAA tournament. You didn't hear that from me, a U of M grad. Ann Arbor, back to the point of the story, is launching a first-of-its-kind program that the officials there will help speed up the city's transition to renewables. They're going to gain more local control over the energy mix and lower costs that way, especially as traditional utilities are a little slow to get away from fossil fuel generation. The city created Sustainable Energy Utility, or SEU, will run in tandem with the privately owned utility serving Ann Arbor, offering a supplemental service that residents can opt into. Those who do will get solar panels, battery storage, and other upgrades installed, maintained, owned by the city while still staying connected to the main power grid. Customers who opt in will get one utility bill from SEU and another from the regular utility, but are expected to pay less overall when you combine the two bills. That program is starting with a pilot in the Bryant neighborhood. It's a lower income area out there where a lot of households are facing high energy costs. The SEU also has some plans to put together microgrids, Mike. The agency could install solar panels on a school to supply power when students and teachers are in the building, and then that power could go to other SEU customers once class is done for the day. I love the concept, Mike. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to open up a can of heartache for myself by just letting you know that way back when they played with leather helmets, I went to Ohio State University.
Really? The Ohio State University. The Ohio State University. You guys learn a lot about agriculture out here, I hear.
Yes, I want to let you know. So this non-professional sports fan, you can rail against OSU all you want. But back to Michigan. It might be surprising that DTE, which is Michigan's largest electric utility, is supportive of this SEU. But with investor-owned utilities under growing strain from rising electricity demand, DTE, it seems, sees a city-led effort as an assist in managing power needs within its own service territory. So far, more than 1,500 people across Ann Arbor want to sign up. The SEU aims to serve 100 to 150 customers in Bryant this year, scale to 1,000 next year, and then expand by several thousand customers annually after that. Other models also exist. In DC, program called the DC Sustainable Energy Utility has been operating for 15 years, overseeing the city's efforts to help residents use less energy. Paul, story number 2.
Our second story this week by Maxine Joslow of the New York Times is titled, Trump Officials Weigh New Plan to Stop Offshore Wind Farms. Say it ain't so, Mr. Casey.
Okay, let's see if we follow the logic, listeners. The country needs more power. We stupidly cut the lowest cost form of power, exactly 1,891 solar and wind farms, according to our friend Michael Thomas. The courts say, no, don't do that. But the response now is, no, we're determined to be stupid. So, under the two proposed settlements...
He's not editorializing at all. That's right in there in the docket. It just says, no, we choose to be stupid, Your Honor.
The Interior Department would cancel the federal leases for Attentive Energy and Carroll Long Bay projects, while the Justice Department would pay the companies for winning its bids. So we're going to pay you to not build the power. We'd rather have the outflow rather than the power inflow. In exchange, the companies would abandon the projects and commit to increase investment in natural gas infrastructure in Texas, aligned with the administration's energy emergency agenda. So, folks, if you are taking psilocybin like Chris Wrong surely does, or if you really want to be on the bong hit of crazy propaganda, this is your story. Other than that, Paul, I don't know what to think.
Yeah, I'm not sure the listeners know what to think either. If you missed any of that, it was more or less that the settlements put together by the Interior Department are going to cancel federal leases that were signed offshore, and they're going to pay out the leaseholders, and they're going to try to encourage them to build gas infrastructure instead. I mean, I guess none of this stuff really comes as a surprise to me, Mike, and it's unclear if Total Energies is going to play ball on this. If not, documents reviewed by the New York Times say the administration would then just cancel the leases, and they're going to go to court over it, which is probably why they want to pay him off in the first place, to avoid that litigation, which I think the feds would probably lose. It's just going to be drawn out for forever, and we're going to spend 7 or 8 figures in court fees, and it's probably a mess that Total Energies didn't envision itself getting involved in when they bid on that lease initially. The proposed settlements mark a new strategy here. You may recall courts blocked 5 different wind farms that were already under construction, trying to stop them from getting power to the grid. It didn't work out very well. The courts ruled in favor of all of those wind farms. So now the administration has decided, you know what, I guess we can't stop the ones that already have steel in the ground and specialized ships that are lugging parts out there. We need to get to the ones that haven't started construction yet. And that's certainly the case with these lease areas. We'll see if this works. I agree with you, Mike, in sentiment and in chicanery, that taking power off the grid in any way, shape, or form is just not the right answer right now. Story number 3.
All right. And Mr. Gerke, as a fellow Midwesterner, can you at least pretend to be cosmopolitan and call the company Total instead of Total?
Total Energies.
Come on. At least have the pretense of globalism. Okay. Our third story, Kyle Stock, Bloomberg. Surging gas prices, drum roll, reignite EV interest, Paul Gerke.
I saw a tweet from someone today that said that the Trump administration is doing more right now for green energy and EV adoption than the most wild card bioterrorist, eco-minded person could possibly do. And it's wild to think about, but that's actually, that's what's happening, right? Because if we have any sustained gas prices over $4 a gallon for any amount of time, it's going to immediately drive people to electric vehicles, because there are some good options out there right now. And that's what this article seems to drive at. The surging prices from the war in Iran are reinvigorating interest in EVs. Surprise, surprise. Bloomberg NEF reporting that this week alone, U.S. drivers are going to pay an extra $1.65 billion at the pump. $4 a gallon, that's where everyone is going to start to really feel the pinch point, as if like $3.65 or $3.95 or whatever the hell it is you're paying where you are isn't enough already. That mark, though, I think by a lot of folks that deal in this space, they recognize that as that's when people are really going to start to strongly consider electric vehicles. Since the February 28th attack on Iran, the average price of regular gasoline in the U.S., not to mention diesel, has surged 20%. It's up over $4.29 per gallon right now. Where I was in Arizona, Mike, it was up over $4.50 earlier this week. It's the highest it's been in nearly 3 years. And for the average American driver, we're talking about an extra $31 a month minimum. That's if you're not driving a ton. Search traffic for EVs. If you're wondering if people are Googling around, they are up 20% in the week following the initial attack compared to the week prior. That's according to CarEdge, an AI-driven platform that helps car shoppers negotiate with dealerships. For popular EVs like the Tesla Model Y and Chevy Equinox, traffic for those nearly doubled. Mike, is the Trump administration inadvertently going to bring back EVs?
All right, first off, stop saying dirty words called green. It's clean.
Green and clean, baby.
No, it's clean, not green. ExxonMobil says green. We say clean. Okay.
Okay.
Now I'm done being your school marm. Here we go. After Russia invaded
just a
Ukraine.
regular marm.
All right, there's only room for one Brian Mendez in this crew, and you're not him. So stop.
Right,
stop it. All right, gas prices spiked to $5.36 a gallon, and sales of battery-powered vehicles surged to 66% that year, a time that predated federal tax credits. Okay, at the end of 24, long after gas prices had cooled, car shoppers still ranked fuel savings as their top reason for going electric, according to Carvana. Now, high gas prices are mainly influencing people already in the market for a car, but if prices stay elevated for 3 months or more, even those who weren't planning to buy may start feeling the pull toward EVs. High oil and gas prices push electricity rates, but not nearly as much or as directly. Paul, our fourth story.
Story number 4, Julia Simon, NPR, titled Oil and Gas Prices Are Soaring. Some countries are ready with solar panels and EV. A great segue from the last story, Mike.
Yeah. Straits of Hormuz were closed. Now, a quarter of oil and natural gas supplies for the world are cut off. Energy experts say some countries are better positioned to handle this energy crisis than they would have been just a few years ago due to rapid adoption of solar, batteries, and EVs. Since 2023, Pakistan has imported roughly 14 gigawatts of solar panels from China. In 2024, all other power generation sources in Pakistan combined were 46 gigawatts. So, although the country still relies on imported fossil fuels, it isn't as exposed to this loss of supply, in part because of its new solar and wind capacity. Last year, Pakistan already reduced its LNG imports partially because of the rapid growth of solar and batteries. And to manage current losses of LNG supplies, the country is deploying several solutions, including expanding renewable generation. I will say, Paul, many stories you could have picked that also talk about the same sentiment for Europe.
Yeah, and Europe is getting really serious about energy independence here, as if they weren't already. The Russian invasion of Ukraine really cut back on Russian natural gas imports. Shortly after, the European Commission framed renewables as their way out of that natural gas dependency. And since then, Spain and Portugal have upped their installations, and you're going to see it all across Europe. The countries there are just sick of price volatility. Renewables are more stable, even though there's going to be some pain up front. As Oxford professor Jan Rosenow put it, quote, oil and gas prices may be up, but the sun and wind don't care what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. That is exactly right. Let's get to our guests. We don't want to keep Jen waiting anymore. Mike, story number 5.
And for our fifth story, we've got Jen McDermott with the Associated Press coming back. She is a returning This Week in Cleantech guest. She's got a story. Offshore wind project targeted by Trump administration starts sending power to the New England grid. Okay, so Jen, I'm assuming that these plants are going to turn power to the United States. It's badly needed. They're not going to get paid off to go away. Let me just confirm that first with you.
Right. So unlike the other story that you were talking about, where the wind farms are not under construction yet, what I wrote about was a major offshore wind project called Revolution Wind that just started sending power to the New England grid. So this was a project under construction. That construction was twice halted by the Trump administration, because the administration said that there were national security concerns with the project. And so up until a few weeks ago, it was pretty unclear whether this project would reach this milestone of actually sending power to the grid. So wind supporters really celebrated it reaching this point because of that. And, you know, as more turbines come online in the weeks ahead, it will be sending more power into New England.
Hey, Jen, we want everybody that's listening here to read your piece. If they haven't already, they should go do that. But if you had to characterize in your reporting the sentiment of the offshore wind industry in the U.S. right now, I mean, we write all the time about going back and forth in the courts. Clearly, these are tumultuous waters, to put it lightly. In your reporting, did you get the sentiment that the folks working on these projects thought that they could really see it through and that there might be a future for offshore wind, or that this is really just still touch and go?
Yeah, so Revolution Wind was one of 5 projects that the Trump administration halted construction on. 5 major wind farms under construction. All 5 went to court to challenge the stop work order, and all were successful, and all have since resumed construction. And so they seem to be, on the path towards, completing their projects. Vineyard Wind, which is another major offshore wind project, they actually finished construction on Friday, the same day that Revolution Wind began providing power. But it seems like a lot of other people that I spoke to said that, for the wind farms that haven't started construction, ones that are still going through, particularly the federal permitting process, that it would be far harder for those to get going at this point in time.
Jen, not that you were added to a signal chat on it or anything, but was there ever a compelling articulation of what national security challenge there would be from offshore wind?
It seems like several of the judges in those cases were saying that the government didn't show that the national security risk was so imminent that construction could halt, or that construction should halt. The government did provide information to the judges that were reviewed by the judges during those court cases. So that's not information that I was privy to. And the government really made the argument in court that their national security concerns should trump any sort of harm to the developer. That's how that played out.
Jen, before we let you go, any other takeaways you want to share that you maybe didn't get to squeeze into the piece that you thought might be interesting, especially for our renewable and clean tech audience?
I think the next major milestone that I'm looking toward is that of those 5 projects, the next one up is the Coastal Virginia offshore wind project off the coast of Virginia. That's very close to providing first power as well. So that will be a milestone, and providing power to Virginia, where there are a lot of data centers. So I think that will be interesting. So that's something that I'm looking to explore in the coming weeks as they hit that milestone as well.
Paul Gerke, we got to go to our Cleantecher of the Week.
All right, let's do it. With all eyes on CVOW, we've also got a shout out for our Cleantech of the Week, Martin Mulvihill, a partner at Safer Made, and Arlene Blum, a chemist, mountaineer, and executive director of the Green Science Policy Institute. We're just giving out 2 Cleantechers of the Week, plural this week, Mike Casey. We sure are. We make the rules. We can do whatever the heck we want. Safer Made, if you don't know, is a venture capital fund. They invest in companies reducing human exposure to harmful chemicals, including through PFAS-alternatives. And the Green Science Policy Institute, they're a nonprofit that advocates for safer use of chemicals. Congratulations, Martin Mulvihill and Arlene Blum are co-Cleantechers of the Week.
Because clean tech is tech, not just energy. I want to I think what these guys are doing is badass. I also want to give a shout out to our terrific producer, Brian Mendez, and to Alex Peterson and Claire Quirin for helping us identify this week's top stories.
And a special shout out to you, the listener, for your patience and just putting up with us again this week. You made it to the end. Another This Week in Clean Tech in the bag. You got a whole nother week before the next one comes out. We hope you check that one out too. Jennifer McDermott, one last shout out to you from the Associated Press. Thank you for putting up with us on This Week in Clean Tech and being a returning guest. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe, leave a little feedback, perhaps share a story suggestion to our email address mentioned at the top of the show. You can find every article we talk about each week. They're in the links in the episode description. You'll also find them in the post on factorthis.com. Until next time, people, be good.
Take care.